Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to today's webinar, SSIS Expert Series, Global Phone Verification and Email Mailbox Validation. I'm Jimena Mejarado from Melissa Data. Joining us today is our Data Quality Analyst, Joseph Vertito, who will show you how our new solutions in SQL Server allow you to easily and instantly verify email addresses and phone numbers to ensure you reach your intended prospects or customers. We will reserve some time at the end of the presentation for questions. We'll get to as many questions as we can today. Any questions we don't have time to answer will be archived, and I know Joseph will be happy to answer them offline. I will also send you a link to a recording of today's webinar via email, so you can follow up on anything you miss or pass the information along to colleagues. All right, let's get started. It's my pleasure to introduce our Data Quality Analyst, Joseph Vertito.
Thank you, Jimena. Again, I'm Joseph, one of the senior engineers and data quality analysts here at Melissa Data. And today we're going to talk about how Melissa Data really has been globalizing their solutions. And two of the new features that we've introduced in SQL Server or SSIS is our global phone verification solution, as well as our email mailbox validation. And take note, these both are new features that we've introduced for SSIS, and they're about to come out for this month, for this coming release. So agenda for this webinar, we're going to take a look at how we do global phone cleansing and how global phone numbers should be formatted. We're going to take a look at some of the enrichment information we get from global phones. And then we also will take a look at how we verify phone numbers. And then for email addresses, we'll take a look at how we clean emails, and then also how we do real-time email verification. But first, let's talk about global phone cleansing and verification. And I do want to explain to you guys how a phone number should be formatted. I think that's the first thing that we need to understand when we're dealing with phone numbers. When we're talking about, for example, a U.S. phone number, and we are dialing from within the same country, typically that would require a format of having the national prefix, and then you also have the area code, the prefix, and then the suffix. And this is all very obvious to us, and sometimes you don't even need the national prefix, it would be optional. But for some areas in the North America region, you might need this national prefix. But then it kind of changes a bit when you are dialing a U.S. number and you're outside the country, and how we've named or how the terminologies are for global phone numbers that's widely accepted, is that you usually or typically will need what you call the international prefix, which is the exit code, and each exit code will be different for every country. So each country will have a different exit code, and then you want to dial the country code for the country you're dialing to, and then you have the national destination code, which specifies a specific area, and then the subscriber number. And this is typically how you would form a global phone number. And if we look at another example here, say for example you have a Russian phone number 495-728-5802, and you're dialing from within Russia as well, those are the only numbers that you'll need. But if you're dialing, say, from the U.S. and you're trying to make a call to Russia, as you can see here, you would actually need the international prefix plus the country code, which is 7, and then the rest of the phone number. The national prefix and the subscriber number is the way you would dial globally to another country. So as you can see, it becomes really overwhelming when you're dealing with phone numbers, especially if you're dealing with different countries, and some phone numbers might have the country codes, some might not, some might have the international prefix, some might have the country code, some might not. So it can all come in different formats and different forms, so it can be overwhelming as far as being able to even know which ones are good and trying to correct these and standardize these in a certain way. But again, for a local phone number that you're trying to dial to, you would want the national destination code, which is typically the area code, plus the subscriber number. And then for international, or for dialing out to international phone numbers, you want the plus sign, which is the exit code, and then you want the country code followed by the country code, and then you want the national destination code followed by the subscriber number. So now that we kind of have a better idea of how global phones should be formatted to begin with, we can take a look at how phone numbers should actually be cleansed. And well-formed phone numbers are easy when everything is perfectly fine and good and dandy, but that never is the case. We will have different formatting or unusual formatting, and these are the things we want to cleanse, and we will have sometimes even invalid characters that get into our data. So these are the things we are able to cleanse with the SSIS component. So again, the components that we provide for SQL Server Integration Services allow you to complete the data that you have and standardize the data, whether you're missing the country code or the exit code or whatnot. And it's also able to handle things like odd formatting. Phone numbers will come in different formats. We will be able to standardize the formatting for you and also address other types of problems like syntax errors and illegal characters in the phone number. Some of the enrichment information or additional data that you get by using our solutions for global phone numbers is that when you enter a global phone, you also get with that the country name for that phone number, and then you also get the administrative area, which is like the state, and you get the locality, which is like the city. You also get the latitude and longitude for the Y center. For that phone number, you get the daylight savings time flag. You also get the UTC as well as the language that is spoken for that country. So these are the types of metadata and enrichment information you're getting back out of the global phone solution. And as far as verification goes, and really this is what probably the most important piece here, which is actually verifying the phone number. How do we know if a global phone is actually callable or not? Well, we've compiled our sources for, we've compiled a reference data source from different sources that we use in order to validate phone numbers all over the world. And this includes, or once you try and pass in a phone number, we give you specific result codes for that. So, for example, you enter a 562.213.820, you will get a PS01 for that, which tells you that this is a completely valid phone number. And the same thing goes when you've got illegal or bad phone numbers. We will tell you that there's something wrong with the phone number, and that will give you the specific results for that. So let's actually, take a look at what the component looks like. And for those of you who have not been in some of my previous webinars, this is a series. This is the fourth part of the expert series for SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services. If you'd like to view some of the past webinars that we've done, you can go to the Melissa Data website, www.melissadata.com. And under resources, you can click under webinars, and this will give you all the past webinars that we've done for the SSIS expert series. So as you can see here, actually we're at the fifth part now, if I'm not mistaken. In any case, what our components look like in SSIS is we've developed custom plugins for the integration service environment or the SQL Server Data Tools environment. So MD Contact Verify, Fuzzy Matching, Global Verify, IP Location, Deduplication, appending, property information, and national change of address. We have all of these solutions. I talk about some of them in my past webinars, so go ahead and view those. But today we are focusing on the Global Verify component, which previously only does global address verification. But with this upcoming update for SQL Server for our components for SSIS, we are now including both the phone number and email validation. So if you open this guy up, you will see that these tabs, the phone and the email tabs, are both new. And these are the new functionalities that we're including. Before, you could only, again, just do global addresses, but now you can actually do global phone number validation as well as real-time email validation, which we will be talking about in just a bit here. So global phone, quite simple. How you'd set up the components is that, or first I'd like to show you what kind of data I have. So I have a source. I've got names, countries, phone numbers, addresses, and emails. And the phones will come in different formats. Some of them have problems. Some of them have the country codes and whatnot. Some of them have dashes. Some of them have spaces. Of course, you've got the country from where that phone number is coming from. And really, you want to be able to standardize and verify all of these phone numbers. So what I've done is I've mapped my flat file source into my global component. And in my phone tab, I am setting this up where I'm putting in the phone number, and then I'm giving it all of the outputs, or I'm requesting for all of these enrichment information back. So it will give me the standardized number, the subscriber number, the country, the country dialing code, the international prefix, which is the dial-out code or the exit code. We got the national prefix, which is like the area code, national destination code, locality, and all the other good stuff that you're getting back with a phone number, including the latitude and longitude. So let's go ahead and just run this component and see what we get back. Again, we're taking all of our phone numbers here from the source, passing it through the global verify component, and this communicates with our web services to be able to give you all of the metadata back. So as you can see here, all of the phone numbers have now been standardized in such a way where we have the international prefix, we have the destination code, and also the subscriber numbers. Everything is formatted the way they should be according to the country where it belongs. And if we look over here at the end, we can see, of course, all of the metadata we're getting back, UTC, even the language for that country, the city, the state we also get, and then the latitude, longitude, and of course we get what I've shown you, which is the result codes, where PS01 signifies to me that this phone number is a callable phone number and it's a valid phone number. So we get the proper result codes for those, and I do have one phone number here which is incomplete, so it's a bad and uncallable phone number, and we do get the appropriate result code for that as well. So we know exactly what's going on with our phone numbers, and then also everything is standardized in the accepted format, which is accepted globally. So that is our global phone solution. And now we are going to move over to our email solution, our real-time email mailbox validation and cleansing functionality for the global component in SSIS. Again, let's talk about real quickly how email addresses should be formatted. Well, typically an email, of course, will have the mailbox name, which in this case is Joseph. You will have the @ separator. You will have the domain name, in this case Melissa Data. You'll have a period separator, and then you have the top level domain, which can be com, net, edu, and so on and so forth. So this is how we know a good email address is formatted and how it should look like. And really, one of the things that we are able to do with our email component is, of course, we can cleanse the email for you. Well-formed emails are easy to handle. You don't need to do anything with them. But of course, we all know that data is never going to be always perfect. So we need to do some form of cleansing and standardization to these emails. And these includes problems like, not characters that are not accepted for email addresses. We've got syntax errors like double @ signs, and we've got misspelling sometimes. So these are the kind of things we want to be able to handle. And our email cleansing solution follows the RFC 2821 standards in order to be able to cleanse and standardize email addresses. So we know exactly which characters are accepted for emails, which is upper lowercase English letters. We also know that which digits are allowed or which special characters are allowed, and also the rules that are associated with those special characters and how they should or should not be used. So having known all of those rules for how emails should be formatted or how it should be formed, we can standardize the emails according to the casing that they should be in. We can detect and delete unacceptable characters like, extra asterisks at the end and whatnot. These are all not acceptable, or otherwise your email will be undeliverable. Of course, fixable syntax errors like double @ signs, unnecessary periods or spaces between characters, those can all be fixed in the SSIS email component. And also correct domain misspellings. In this case, if we misspell Gmail with a double L, we can correct that. Verizon with a T instead of an R, we can correct that. Yahoo with a missing O, yes, we can correct that also. And of course, top-level domain misspellings, which is if you misspell COM to CON, we can fix that. Net to NT, we can fix that. Or org with a double G, we can also fix problems like that. So simple, correctable misspellings that are obviously wrong, we can correct for the domain and the top-level domain. And so let's talk about how we actually verify the emails. Well, originally we had some solution for verifying emails, which involved, first and foremost, by using the MX lookup technology, So our solutions were able to do that before. And what this does is we actually look for an MX record for the given domain. Uh, and that's how we kind of determine whether or not uh, that email address is deliverable or not. It is by checking the mail exchange, the existence of a mail exchange server for that domain. But then really what this does is that it only verifies for you the domain part of it, which is gmail.com. So if you give us joseph@gmail.com, we will verify that gmail.com is existing, and then you can send mail to it. And that's pretty much it. But you've not verified if actually Joseph exists in gmail.com. This is one of the limitations that MX Record does, so it can only validate the domain part for you. So which is why we came up with our own reference data set of valid emails, and this is a huge data source. So we've taken that to the next level, again, by collecting all of this data for good emails. So if you send us an email address through our web service, we will be able to tell you whether the email is good or bad by using the collection of reference data sources that we've compiled for email addresses. But we realize that this isn't enough. Even if you have the MX lookup for verifying the domain, if we use a huge data source or reference data for valid email addresses, this still isn't we thought is enough, because emails change all the time. People will delete their emails or create new ones. So this data moves even faster than addresses, I would say. There's so many emails out there that we probably don't have, which is why we've created this new solution, which is real-time mailbox verification. And this is a brand new solution that we're introducing in the SSIS components, and it allows for real-time mailbox validation. So you're validating the entire email address, not just the gmail.com, but you are validating that Joseph exists at gmail.com is what this mailbox validation capability is able to provide you with. And this does it in real time. And the way it's able to do this is through an SMTP check, where we send a check to the server, gmail.com, and then we get a response saying whether or not Joseph is actually found as an existing mailbox for gmail.com. This is really new and exciting stuff, things that we weren't able to do before, but now we are able to. And so this really elevates, I believe, what we can provide as far as being able to cleanse data for email addresses. So really exciting stuff. So let's take a look at an example of global email verification or real-time email verification. If we go into the component and move over to the email tab, really easy. You give it, or you tell it where in your data the emails are, and then you tell it what you want for your output. So here I'm telling it to give me the full, corrected, validated, and standardized email address, and give me the parsed out mailbox name, the parsed out domain name, the parsed out top-level domain, and the description for that domain. So you specify the input, specify what you want for your output, and then you tell it what you want or the level of validation that you want. So you could either turn that off and not do any mailbox validation. You can do a fast, which is it does an MX lookup for you, and then you also can do a mixed, which is if you do a mixed, it will look at the reference data set as I've shown you in the presentation. If you do real time, that is when you're getting or when you're using the SMTP check in order to validate the entire email address. So you have this option of doing real-time validation. So let's go ahead and actually use that. And again, we're using a flat file source, and let me just preview this for you. You've got typical information here: names, addresses, city, state, zip, phone numbers, and email addresses. And as you can see, the emails are, some of them have problems in it, syntax errors, and so on. So these are the things that we will be addressing in the component. So let's take a look at how that looks when we run it. Okay, so we've got 20 records here, and some of them have emails. So let's take a look at what that looks like. For these ones, as you can see, those brackets are now gone. We've taken care of those syntax, those illegal characters. The syntax problems of the multiple @ signs have been addressed also, and then the casing we've standardized for you, so you don't have to worry about how they should be cased and whatnot. So And also we've parsed out all of the individual components like the mailbox name, the domain name, the top level domain, and the description for that domain, top level domain. So after standardizing it, parsing it out, we then are able to tell you whether the email is good or not. So we get the appropriate result codes, which is the ES21, which tells you that you're getting the best possible uh, level of validation for this email address. And it tells me, that this email was actually validated in real time, that it's a good and valid email address. And for those that aren't good emails like this one, this guy over here, and if you look at this email, there's a bunch of stuff wrong with it, like rockets.uto, I don't know, there's just something wrong with it. And we try to validate that email, and we do get the appropriate error code for that. And it tells me that it's a non-deliverable email address and you don't want to send to that email. And again, this is all doing it in real time, and it's also validating the email address at the mailbox level, so you know that the entire email address is actually deliverable or not. This is some new and exciting technology being offered by Melissa Data. So really that's pretty much it for this webinar. Again, we've seen how global phone numbers to begin with, or we've seen two of our upcoming components, and this is the global phone number cleansing and validation piece for global phones, and then we also have the real-time email mailbox validation addition for the global component as well. So these are two brand new components that are about to be released in this coming release for our components in SSIS. And that will be ready by the end of the month, or either the end of the month or the first week of November. So you can download and try those out if you want for our global solutions. And again, those will have all of the things that we've seen here in this webinar. And all you really have to do is download the presentation, and when it's ready, you should be able to click on this guy, and it will take you to the download for the demo for these components. And of course, if you have any questions, if you want to follow up with anything, you could always contact me. My contact is on the screen, my email, my phone number, or you could go to melissadata.com for additional information. And that's pretty much it. I think we're going to be taking questions now.
Thank you, Joseph. So the floor is now open for questions. If you have any questions, please type those in right now. I do want to remind you that I will be sending out a link to a recording of the webinar today. You should expect to receive it anytime by the end of the week. By the end of the week, definitely. Okay, I will give you guys a few seconds to type those in. Okay, I got the first question. How many countries do you support?
For global phone numbers, we support over 230 countries. So we can validate phone numbers for over 230 countries. And again, this is a massive data source that we've acquired. And so we have a list of valid phone numbers for all of those, for almost all countries. And that's how we verify phone numbers.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you guys a few more seconds in case you think of another question. And I do want to remind you that Joseph's info is on the screen, so his email is there and his phone number is there. He will be happy to answer any questions if you contact him directly. And thanks again, Joseph. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope to see you at a future webinar, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Oh, I think we got one question in. Have you created any customized component for telephone and email verification, or it is inbuilt? And which version of SQL Server are you using?
So the components that you just saw in the demo, these are actually customized components for telephone and email. It's not built into SQL Server Integration Services. So I should have mentioned this a while ago. For those of you who aren't aware of what SQL Server Integration Services is, it is a tool from Microsoft. So a lot of the SQL Server database analysts out there, they will know what SSIS is, and it's an ETL tool that ships with SQL Server. So it's called SQL Server Integration Services. It comes with SQL Server when you install it. You have an option of installing it or not, and that is pretty much the BI or ETL tool that comes with SQL Server. But the telephone number validation and email verification pieces that you've seen here are not bundled with that Microsoft solution. These solutions are coming from Melissa Data. So what you're going to do is you're going to install those components, and then they will be added in as a custom plugin as part of the SSIS environment. So these are, again, custom plugins that we built for Microsoft SQL Server Integration Services, which is a Microsoft tool for doing ETL solutions, which is bundled with SQL Server. As far as versions go, we support 2005 SQL Server, not 2005, sorry. We support 2008 SQL Server, 2012 SQL Server, and 2014 SQL Server Integration Services.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. All right, so if you do think of any more questions, once again, just contact Joseph. His info is on the screen. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day.